The last time I talked about Yandere Simulator, I said I wasn't going to talk about it again, but in all honesty, I know I haven't posted in like over a month, and there's a reason why. I had a video completely ready 2 weeks ago, and then before it even made it out of the drafts of YouTube Studio, it got copyright striked by Paramount Pictures, and then I, appealed it, and then they were like, no, it's still not work, and I don't want to get a copyright strike so early into my channel, so I'm gonna go back to Yandere Simulator because I've been seeing a lot of things on my For You page about the new lore updates, even though this game is only really should be about Ayano Aishi and by extension Ryoba Aishi, but apparently Yandere Dev, this dude, he's been adding lore, and I'm just gonna go through it. And yes, I do think lore is important to a game, but is it important to a game like this? Let's see. There are 2 new types of lore that have been added to Yandere Simulator, and actually not Yandere Simulator itself, more like the website yanderesimulator.com, and the 2 types are the Senpais and the Aishis, and then a few more that I'll get into. But first, I am going to read the main characters, Senpai and Ayano Aishi. I am gonna read their lore. So here we go. This is Senpai, Taro Yamada. The Japanese word senpai refers to someone who has seniority over someone else. For example, if you are a first-year student, all second-year and third-year students are your senpai. If you start working at a new job, any coworker who has been employed at the workplace longer than you is your senpai. In Yandere Simulator, the title of senpai is given to a young man or young woman that the protagonist is infatuated with. The player is given the option of choosing senpai's gender at the beginning of the game. They might be senpai-kun or they might be senpai-chan. If senpai is male, his name is Taro Yamada. If she is female, her name is Taiko Yamada. Over the course of the school year, 10 different girls will fall in love with senpai. There is a myth at school that if a girl confesses her love to a boy under the cherry tree behind the school on a Friday, the 2 of them will love each other forever. Every girl who falls in love with senpai plans to confess at 6 p.m. on Friday. If there is anyone who wants to keep senpai all to herself, she has 6 p.m. on Friday to eliminate the competition. Before I go any further, I'm just going to say that half of this is wrong. First of all, yes, you do call someone who's older than you senpai, but then you would not refer to them as senpai-kun or senpai-chan. That's 2 honorifics in one name. You would, for example, using Taro Yamada, you would call him Yamada senpai or Yamada-san. For if they were older, you only use chan or kun to someone who is younger than you. So that's just wrong in the first place. And second of all, there is no actual content on Taro Yamada. This profile for him is not even about him. It's just a generalization of senpai, and also there is no female version of senpai. So anyway, let's move on. This is Ayano Aishi's profile. Ayano Aishi is the protagonist of Yandere Simulator. She is known as Yandere-chan to players of the game and has given the cute nickname of Yan-chan by her classmates. Since early childhood, Ayano has suffered from an inexplicable, incurable condition. In short, this condition leaves her with a perpetual sense of being empty, hollow, and incomplete. As a result, she has never been able to experience satisfaction, fulfillment, or happiness, and has not been able to experience emotions in the same capacity as other people. As she grew older, she learned to pretend to be a normal person in order to avoid drawing negative attention from others, but was never able to feel any degree of empathy towards other human beings. Ayano attends a post-high school academy called Academy. On the first day of her second year at Academy, Ayano came into physical contact with a young man named Taro Yamada. In that moment, she gained the ability to experience everything that has been missing from her life. She felt complete, she felt fulfilled, and she felt powerful emotions. Meeting Taro was like seeing color for the first time, hearing music for the first time, and feeling warmth for the first time. In his presence, she felt overwhelmed with euphoria. But as soon as they were apart, the feeling of emptiness returned. After just one meeting, Ayano had become hopelessly addicted to Taro's presence, and came to rely on him in order to feel alive. Then, Ayano saw something horrible, something that terrified her and infuriated her at the same time. It was a young woman who clearly had deep feelings for Taro. If Taro ended up in a relationship with this girl, then Ayano might lose him forever. Without a moment's hesitation, Ayano knew exactly what had to be done. This girl, her rival, had to be eliminated as soon as possible, by any means necessary, no matter the cost. Now this makes sense, like lore-wise, for the amount of the character we get. This is what we get. 1, that Ayano is in love with the senpai. I'm just gonna call him Taro for now. Ayano is in love with Taro. And 2, Ayano has something that's wrong with her in her body that she can't feel any emotion until she meets that person she loves. Great. Good backstory. Good lore. That's kind of all we need for the game, but then 1980s mode came out, and we got the profiles for her mother Ryoba and her father, so let's read those. Ryoba Aishi is the main character of 1980s mode, and despite her mode actually being fully completed and Ayano's not, her profile on the website is actually much shorter. It says this: Ryoba Aishi is the mother of Ayano Aishi, the protagonist of Yandere Simulator. Ryoba attended the same school as her daughter in the late 80s. She has lived in the same neighborhood for her entire life. She's a cheerful and friendly woman who seems to get along very well with everyone in her neighborhood, although nobody seems to know very much about her, not even her next-door neighbors. She's a very private woman who never talks about herself and never divulges into many details about her occupation, but she's always willing to talk for hours about her husband and how much she adores him. And then this is Ayano's father, Jokichi Yurase. Jokichi Yurase is a charming and flirtatious young man who has become quite popular among the female population at Academy. His dashing good looks and charisma are enough to capture the heart of almost any young woman. Even though he gives off the aura of a playboy and a ladies' man, he's actually quite inexperienced with women. Tired of being single, he's on the prowl and looking for Miss Right. Sorry, this is actually the first time I'm reading it. However, it seems that every time he gets close to a girl, an unexpected event suddenly removes the girl from his life. ... Besides the fact that we get a very lackluster description of Ryoba and Jokichi, him being called looking for Miss Right. Anyway, we do get the idea that Ryoba has the same problem as Ayano, and this is confirmed by like the little origin cutscene thing in the beginning of the game when Ayano says like, my mother said that she experienced the same thing as I did, or whatever she says. And so like that's confirmed, and we kind of get that vibe in the 1980s mode too. Great. So we realize that there's a pattern with the Aishis and having this like thing about being obsessive over a certain guy. But then Yandere Dev decided to go back all the way to like the early 1910s. And let me get into this. I'm gonna start with saying that the background of like the Aishi family and their senpais actually does not matter to the main game, besides like the 3 generations. So Ayano's mother, and then her mother, which I believe her name is Dokuzi. I'll get into her in a second. They don't like, none of the other ones matter besides if you like you go to the like little ramen shop in the town, in the little town, and you like buy one of the soups, and then she's like, may you have good dreams, and then like you have a dream about the origins of the Aishis, which brings in another thing. Why do we need an origin of an Aishi if we're just focusing on 1 or 2 of them? But anyway, let me tell you how many Aishis have been added besides Ryoba and Ayano. There are 7 Aishis besides Ryoba and Ayano. There is Cousin. She doesn't have a name, but that's Ryoba's sister. There's Dozuki Aishi. There's Katava Aishi. There's Azabiki Aishi. Oh, so technically 8 actually. Sorry, there's Kugi Aishi and Hiki Aishi. There's Kijiyase Aishi. And there's Oga Aishi. And all of these have like a wall of text of information about them. And this is where the problem arises. When you are making a game that is a simulator of a character where you play as one character or another character, yeah, you can have the parents of them. So for Ryoba, for example, there's Dozuki, but then she's also cared by Kataba, so having those makes sense, and having her sister in the game makes sense. And you, like, but if they're not going to be main characters, there's no point in adding so much lore unless there's going to be a story mode. So this comes to the question, does Yandere Dev even want Yandere Simulator to take place at Academia anymore, or does he want more of a story mode? Or does everyone just kind of want more of a story mode? Because personally, I think having a story mode would be really cool. Like, he's putting up these giant walls of text on his website, which, like, let's be real here, if you're just like trying out the game and not actually like looking at it, you're not gonna read all of this. You're just gonna be like, whoa, that's a wall of text, and move on. But if we had a story mode of these where like you potentially played as like the first Aishi, or like he calls it the quote Aishi precursor, you like see it at the end credits of the 1980s run, like Aishi precursor, like if you started there and then went all the way down to Ayano, and then after you finish that, then you get to play as Ayano, I think that would be really, really cool. And I think that's a good idea. Unfortunately, I cannot code for the life of me. I'm not a game developer. I have taken maybe 1 or 2 coding classes, and one of them was when I was little, and I made a Minecraft mod on Java. That's it. That's it. But anyway, that's the main problem, because it seems like he wants there to be a story, but then there's not a story. This goes along with the fact that there's like a secret ending to, or like it's not even an ending, it's just like a little cutscene to Yandere Simulator in the main game, where if you dig like under the cherry tree with a shovel for 5 days straight, you find, for lack of better words, a corpse like underneath it in the roots with a sword in it, and it's the sword from the mini game Yanvania, which is actually based off a game called Castlevania in real life. And then you find it, well, Ayano finds it, and Inkyubasu and Sakibasu like stop by and be like, we need to release our mother. because in the lore, they're actually an incubus and a they changed it, even though her name is still like Inkyubasu. She's like a vampire, and then succubus is a succubus, and so like there's lore, but that's always been lore. But then like this comes out of nowhere. This is like an ending that you wouldn't get in the main game, which is cool. But this is a game about a psychotic girl who is killing people for her senpai, having them be like, can you release our mother? We might have to fight you and show you our true forms. Like, why do you... I know I'm laughing, but I'm laughing over how ridiculous it is now that I'm saying it out loud, because imagine this. Like, let's think of a different example. Let's see. I don't know. Let's say you are playing a slice of life, like little... Actually, not even slice of life. Like, imagine you were playing Detroit Become Human, which I know is a very big example. And Detroit Become Human is a game where you play as 3 different androids in Detroit, Michigan, and then you suddenly learn that one of like the side characters, like, I don't know, Hank in Connor's arc, like he's actually like immortal and nothing ever happens to him. Like, just imagine that. Just imagine. It comes out of nowhere. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the whole way this game is advertised, it's not advertised, first of all, as a fantasy game. It's advertised as a RPG or a simulator game. It's advertised as a simulator game, but it's clear this dude, Mr. Yandere likes children dev, allegedly, it's clear that he wants a story. So then don't make a simulator game, make a story mode. Like, it's that simple. And I know I'm being harsh, like I know I'm sounding rude and really pretentious right now, just saying like, oh, just make a story mode game. But it's clear that he wants to have a story to this. And the direction that Yandere Simulator is going, it's not working. He's going back in time in the game. And like the first video I made, which was like 5 or 6 months ago, he only had up to Ayano's great-grandmother. And now they're like generations past. He's going back in time to think about, design, and give a story to all of these Aishis and their senpais. I forgot to mention that. Most of the senpais are also there. And he's giving backstories to all of these. And yet, the third week isn't even released in the main game. There is a creator here on YouTube who is currently making something called the Kizana mob for the third week. Kizana Shinobu is the third rival, and they're making a mod. And I have been like on and off watching the videos because they show up in my suggested. I'm like, there's a little update to the mod. Let's see what's going on. They have made so much progress within the past few months. Like, I don't know much about game making, like I said before, but this person not only has added Kizana, but they have also added like a whole ton of different features and different results for different things, different hairstyles. Like, they have done so much, and in the same amount of time, Yandere Dev added a new texture for a few of the rooms. I'd like to remind all of you that this game has been in production for over a decade. In that time, FNAF, I know I'm always bringing back FNAF was released and then got really popular because creators like Markiplier and like Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, all those big gamers back in 2014, they still are big, but all like the big YouTubers back in 2014 were covering this. And then in those few months, Scott Cawthon, and I know this is a different type of game, he released FNAF 2, FNAF 3, then he released FNAF 4, and then Sister Location, then Pizzeria Simulator, then Ultimate Custom Night, also FNAF World, and then a VR game was made, and then a second version of the VR game was made. There's Security Breach, there's the DLC Security Breach, there's the 8-bit game Into the Pit. I think Secret of the Mimic is like the newest game. I don't know, I haven't really checked up. And he has written, well, not he alone, but there have been 2 book series in this franchise. In the time that Yandere Dev has made 2 weeks of a game and like wishy-washy of a third, and they're not even complete, like the second week's not even voiced, not all the assets are his own. Like, in that amount of time, that is what FNAF did. And the reason why FNAF is able to put a story into their game, I'm specifically focusing on the Aftons. I'm not going to talk about the Mimic, because FNAF is FNAF. That's not, that one Incredibles thing that goes, Dad, I don't think it's about that anymore. It's about the Mimic. No, FNAF is FNAF. Anyway, they have been able to integrate the story by putting little tidbits into the game. Do you see what I'm saying here? Yandere Simulator, the game itself, has nothing about the Aishis except like that one little background thing with the Bossy sisters. Like, that's it. There's not really much else. There's like a letter from the Psycho Core and like stuff like that. But otherwise, there is nothing else behind this lore. It would be really cool if like there's the tapes, which reveal a lot, but it would be really cool if maybe Ayano one day found, I don't know, like a newsletter, or since like her first ancestor, or like the oldest ancestor right now on the website is like a textile maker, she could find cloth from it, like in the game, you know, like instead of having it on the website, he could do it in the game. And yes, since I'm making comparisons to FNAF, I'm gonna hear some of you go, oh, but Scott Cawthon put clues on his websites in the code. Yeah, he put clues, not the whole story. Like, do you know what I'm trying to say here? He's putting the whole story of the game not even into the game. People like figuring things out about lore. That's what makes lore fun. Like, it's fun to find little tidbits of information, like a little scavenger hunt in a game, instead of just it being thrown at us like an essay. Nobody wants to do that. People would, I'm sure, much rather play through the Aishis, figure out what's up, and have a much more compelling story. Honestly, if I were to go into the lore of the Aishis, all of them, like right now in this video, and the senpais as well, and all the other characters, and like make a timeline, this video would probably be over an hour long, so I'll actually probably make a complete separate video on that. But here comes the real question, because this is my third video that I've talked about this game. By the way, without a script, all 3 of my Yandere Simulator videos have been scriptless, because I just need to ramble about it so badly, and that's what I do, I ramble. And I got this question from a person that goes by the Universal Shipper over on TikTok, who reached out to me after seeing my first initial video and asked me, what changes would I make to Yandere Simulator if I was the developer of the game? So here's my answer. The first thing I would do is I would add a story mode, because if we have all these characters, it would be cool to have a story mode. The next thing I would do is I would overall change some of the mechanics I've complained in last video, like how you acquire info points and stuff like that. And third, I would probably just change the designs of the characters, give some characters more depth to them, like Toto. Toto has no depth. Do you know what he likes to do? He likes to read. That's it. He likes to read and walk around the campus. That's it. Like, I would give him a personality, and I would, like, overall I would just add more depth into the game and not just on the website, you know? So yeah, the Universal Shipper, thank you very much for the question. I know you asked if I could make a video on it, but honestly, it might just be easier to put it into this. So thank you so much for that question. And this is obviously not going to be my final video on Yandere Simulator, because I'm going to make a timeline. Even though they give you a timeline at the end of 1980s mode, at this point it's already outdated. In the time I have been recording this audio, another senpai was added. I am not even joking. When I first started recording, like, the voiceover for this, and today is, the day I'm recording this is August 31st. In the time that I have recorded this, since the last time I looked at the website, which I believe was like 2 days ago, which was the 29th, before there was 5 senpais and now there's 6. In the time I've been recording the audio, like, first thought of the idea of making this video and then recording the audio, they have added another senpai to the show, into the episode. And there's also, like, not episode, why do it keeps into the website? There's also, like, they're adding random characters too into the website. Like, I'm just scrolling through it right now as I'm speaking. Like, they added Gita Yamahato, who is the girl with the green hair from the Light Music Club. Like, guys, I'm saying guys in reference to Yandere dub. Dude, just focus on Kizana, dude. Just, nobody's gonna want to play your game anymore. Oh my god, he also added, like, a different art for my waifu, or my Wakahara, as she now goes by, I guess. Like, there was more updates happening to the website and the characters on the website than there is in the actual game, and that is crazy. Okay, anyway, I just need to get this off my chest. I will definitely make a timeline video because now it's in my head and now I'm just like, ooh, gotta make video. I'd like to say thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. I have been loving all the support I've been getting on this channel, mostly because a lot of it is just me rambling about things I want to talk about, because I ramble a lot, and honestly, people around me like don't really understand what I'm talking about because they're not necessarily in the fandoms. Like, I ramble to my mother a lot and she's like, what are you talking about? But it's really nice to get feedback, to get constructive criticism. I have actually like gotten better, I feel like, in my editing skills along with my voiceovers. I've become more confident. I got a new mic. I'm now currently in this video, I started a different editing software than what I used before. I take more time and I'm more careful with how I edit things. I've genuinely built up skills that I didn't really have before this. And I'm really happy that I get to do that. It gives me something to do. And I've had so much fun doing all of it. And I really just appreciate all of you so much. I will try my best. If Paramount Pictures / Fox, if you are watching this, let me post my video about the Titanic, please. I spent 2 weeks on that. I never said that I owned Titanic because I don't. Everybody knows what the Titanic movie is. I'm making a critique video on it. Anyway, I'm ranting. Again, thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. And make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram, where I make a lot of cosplay content. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!